answered for you. Keep questions brief and respectful. We'll try to group similar questions together to maximize time. We will not be using the raise hand feature today. Um, Disruptive or disrespectful behavior won't be tolerated. This is a space for dialogue, not division. With that, I'm honored to introduce someone who stepped up to lead during a time of challenge and change and who's working every day to strengthen this party for 2026 and beyond. Please welcome the chair of the Arizona Democratic Party, Robert Branscomb.
Thank you, Craig, and hello, everyone. Good morning. Thanks so much for being here today and for staying involved. Just by showing up, you're proving that this isn't just about politics for you. It's about people. It's about purpose. It's about the future of our state and of our country. As chair of the Arizona Democratic Party, I don't see my role as just managing things behind the scenes. It's about leading with honesty and integrity. And I'm here to serve you, not to hold power over you. And that means being open, being accessible, and being accountable. I'm not here to lecture you. I'm here to have a real conversation. I want to hear your questions. I want to listen to your concerns. And I promise to be upfront and truthful with you, even when the answers aren't easy, because that's what this moment requires. Here's something simple but important to remember. The Democratic Party isn't just one person. It's just not elected officials or party leaders. It is all of us. It's a movement with nearly 200 years behind it, built on values that last like equality, justice, opportunity, freedom, and democracy for everyone. Sure, we elect leaders to carry those values into government, and we hold them accountable. But the party itself is much bigger than any election or any office. It's every organizer, every volunteer, every voter who believes in a better tomorrow. It's the person knocking on doors in summer heat. It's the young person showing up for the first meeting, the retiree making calls from home, and every neighbor who steps up because they care. That's the heart of the soul of this party. And it's why I push back against the noise and the distraction, the misinformation, the division. Those things only hold us back. They keep us from focusing on the work that really matters. And we don't have the luxury to get distracted, not now, not ever. Democracy itself is on the line. Trust in our institutions is fragile right now. People are counting on us for leadership, for stability, and for hope. And that means we have to lead not just with words, but with real, consistent action that reflects our values. We are the keepers of the flame, a flame that stands for a system where every person matters, every voice is heard, and the fight for what is right never ends. That flame isn't mine alone or any one elected official. It belongs to all of us. And together, it's up to us to keep it burning bright. So please ask your questions, hold us accountable, expect more than not just from me or your leaders, but from each other. Because this party only works when all of us show up. And we will never lose sight of why we are here. We're not just here to win elections, we're here to build a future where democracy is strong, where people feel seen and heard, and where justice is real. And with that saying, I'll go ahead and start answering some questions.
All right. Thank you, Robert. So, first question, how many hours did you spend at call time in May and June, and how much did you raise?
Call time in May and June, I probably spent about average about 8 to 9 hours a week. Let's say that I did about 40, no, about 40 hours. And as far as raising personally, I think it's about 10, $12,000. I don't have the exact numbers. I just remember people who were asking and talked to my staff about if we got checks come in.
Excellent. Why is Chair Branscomb giving SCM lists to Republican candidates to call SCMs to tell them not to go to the meeting on the 16th?
That is not true. That is not true. I'm not giving Republicans or anybody else information about not coming to the thing on July 16th. And I find that interesting because there's been an active campaign against me, and people are sending out emails to SCMs. They're having webinars with board members with the explicit intent to uh, defame me. A treasurer who did videos on YouTube, but they want to accuse me of giving information to someone who is supporting me. Uh, so I did not do that, and that's not true.
Okay, just letting everybody know asking questions in the order they come in. So, what can we do to help you?
One thing we can do is just unite. Right now, we see terrible things on television. I was watching something today on YouTube where a man was in an apartment in New York looking down on the street, and the ICE had run in and pulled someone out the apartment, and people off the street all over were coming to help this person and try to pull ICE off of them, getting on top of the car, and the ICE agents run over a couple of people. That is our America right now, and that's unacceptable. So we need to unite, take this energy we have right now and refocus it on the true enemy here, and that is the administration in the White House. It is protecting the people who have the right to be here, who came in legally, and it's not acceptable that our values are being trampled over. We paid into Social Security. It's not charity. We have people out here, and the veterans are getting their benefits cut. We have senior citizens who need our help to make sure that they can continue to lead their lifestyle after they retire. So we need to refocus our efforts, make sure we get out here in the streets, knock on the doors, talk to our neighbors and friends, get behind our people who are running for office, because we know that we're defenders of democracy, and move forward.
Excellent. Should the vote on Wednesday retain your leadership, what steps will you take to reunite the ADP?
Well, I'm fully confident that I will be still your leader, but I also want to hold my hand out as far as the olive branch, because families have fights all the time. But once we get through that, we need to get back together and move forward. And that's what the people of Arizona want to see. That's what the Democrats across the nation want to see. All of us do, is turn our attention to the real problems and get some real solutions for our citizens.
All right. So there's a question in here for me. How are you able to support this behavior as comms director? I'll answer that. My job as comms director is to get Democrats elected, to make sure that the party is represented in a good light, and I will do anything I can, no matter who the leadership is, to protect the image of the Democratic Party, but more importantly, get Democrats elected. That's my mission. That's why I'm here, and it doesn't matter what's in my way. That's what I'm going to work to do. So, all right. I have heard that fundraising is way behind prior years. What are your plans to raise enough money sufficient to enable a robust campaign up and down the ballot?
Well, fundraising is typically has its ebbs and flows. Now, in prior years, uh, there's an off cycle, as we say that this is the off cycle, but for Arizona, it's not. Fundraising did pick up starting around July, and we've seen a tremendous uptick so far in fundraising for this month. I was informed this past week that right now we're ahead of schedule. We have about $45,000 that we have into far fundraising, or as far as revenue, and we're anticipating an even greater number going into the rest of the month. That is similar to what we've seen in the past, and we need to be confident that that's happening. Also, people are now seeing all the tragedies and all the bad policies that this administration is going through, and those donations should be upticking too. But let's remember, across the nation, donations have been down. What I'm going to do is go ahead and increase my activity as far as fundraising. I've established a fundraising committee. It's been headed by Jeannie Bill, who's been gracious enough to do that, to at least raise funds for the rural project that I anticipate, uh, but also that I'm reaching out to the donors either here in the state or outside of the state. I've instituted a new, well, I shouldn't say new, I reinstituted the Coffee with the Chair series, where I have donors come in and speak with me one-on-one, inform them of what we're doing here at the AZ Democrats, and asking them for the continued support.
All right. We had somebody submit questions through email and just asked in the chat if we could ask those questions. So we'll go that route as well. Um, What, if anything, was accomplished in the way of fence mending in your meeting with AG Kris Mayes that you mentioned in your speech? AG Mayes will be a guest speaker at our next LD28 meeting on August 19th, and I would like to ask her the same question.
We had a very good meeting with AZ Mays. There was four of us in the room, and we had an open and frank conversation. Uh, and in that conversation, she had expressed that she would still like for me to remain chair. She said that there were some concerns that was need to be addressed, and I addressed those concerns. I told her that I'm 100% behind her. I feel that she is the right person in the right place, and I fully support her. And we agree that we're going to move forward and make sure that we bring this party together. So it was a great meeting I had with her, and I continue to keep that conversation open with her.
And have there been any efforts at fence mending between you and Fontes regarding cooperation with Fontes and other statewide elected officials and ADP besides your meeting with AG Mays? And if so, where does that effort stand today?
I've been reaching out and either myself personally or back channels to the rest of the remaining officials, text message them, left some voicemails, talk to other people who have some connections with them to see where they're at. Um, I've had some responses, but still, they have made up their mind where they want to go and what they want to do, and that's unfortunate. But I'm always open, and I'm always continue to mend those fences because we are on the same page as far as what we need to do, and we need to be in lockstep, and that doesn't change. So I can continue to mend those fences to reach out.
Okay, on the ADP budget, is there one yet? And if so, what is the status of incoming donations, cash on hand, and outgoing expenses?
Last night was my fourth attempt to get the ADP budget, and I am just sad to say that no, I feel that uh, some individuals in the executive committee, no matter what I put forth, is not going to be happy with the budget, and that's unfortunate. We've had a lot of people work on that budget, including the first vice chair. She was part of that initial formation of the budget, and so I've done everything I can to make sure that this budget go through. I even created a separate independent committee with some of the people from the executive committee to go line by line through that budget to make sure that there was any opportunity we can uh, reduce the cost uh, and present a decent budget. But also, I feel that, sometimes we're looking at the wrong thing. We look at the budget. Yes, we have to raise funds and stuff like that, but sometimes we need to refocus. Like, how can we together as a unit get together and help raise money? And I think that some of the things I propose in the budget, we need a all hands on deck type of approach of fundraising. And so hopefully we'll get that budget passed here soon. Like I said, I've done my part. I've given everything I can as far as information. I'm trying to make as much conciliatory things to do to make sure that it can fall in line. So hopefully we can get that passed here soon because we need to move forward with that. Right now we're kind of at the standstill. And if you could repeat the second part of that question.
Uh, Cash on hand and outgoing expenses.
Cash on hand, I believe we have $891,000 roughly, and the expenses, I don't have that with me, but this just expenses that we normally have is pretty much the same. And so I don't have the information in front of me, so I don't want to misspeak about that. So I apologize.
Okay, and then the last part of this question series, CD8 has always been a deep red 60-40 MAGA district and has always been treated like a redheaded stepchild by the state and county parties. That's understandable when it comes to allocating scarce resources to Democratic nominees for CD8 that is, at best, just making sure we have an expendable name on the ballot with no chance of flipping the seat. But if the DNC and or DCCC were to funnel some money to the Arizona Democratic Party toward flipping CD8, how would you handle it? Would it not be better to tell the DNC to send the money directly to MCDP? So the question is, if the DNC or DCCC were to give money for CD8 to the state of Arizona, how would you handle it? And would you suggest them sending it to MCDP instead?
Well, we're going to support all the candidates across the state, especially in those challenging races that, +8, +9. We want to make resources readily available for them. Part of the plan that I have that I put out in my strategic plan was to support the rural areas. Also, though, we're doing some fundraising specifically for the rural areas. There was a survey put out a couple months ago, uh, part of my plan that I envisioned, and a few others around the counties had some input on that plan to see how much it would take to make that happen. I believe that number came up to around 1,200,000 or 1,300,000, something like that. But we have to acknowledge that people running these races who may not look favorable for them are the real heroes because they're trying to turn out the vote in greater numbers. And so we need to make sure that that happens across the state. And so I'm more than willing and wanting to allocate the funds when necessary and if available to us to help do that. But a lot of times, sometimes it's just not money. Sometimes it's just resources, manpower. So I want to make sure that we support the rural counties because that is the key to our victories in this next election cycle. To turn out the vote in those rural counties that were ignored this last election cycle.
Moving on to labor, what is the status of the union contract for staff?
The status of union contract is we're still at the table. We're still negotiating. We made a lot of progress. We met this last Thursday and got a couple of tentative agreements taken care of. The only thing that's prohibited me from finalizing a lot of this contract is the lack of a budget. I can't sign the contract because I don't have the authority to do that. And that was one of the things I was tempted to do last night to get that uh, put through so I can go ahead and sign the contract. And that's why I say it's unfair for whatever political reasons that they may have to obstruct getting that budget go through because I need that authority to sign the contract. There are monetary considerations that I have to be able to um, say I give the authority that we're commit to make that happen. And so as long as there's some obstruction to the budget, I won't be able to sign that contract.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. How many members, what is the current number of ADP staff? How many members of the staff have separated, left voluntarily or by directive from the ADP?
Currently, I believe there's 8 members on the staff. Members that left, 4 members that's left voluntarily. There was only one that we decided that we would part separate ways.
Are you willing to stop receiving your $144,000 yearly compensation until fundraising level reaches 2 million, which you have said you were sure we can do in 5.5 months?
Well, first of all, I'm willing to make that sacrifice to cut my salary in half, but I think it's unfair uh, to ask me to completely reduce my salary because this is a full-time commitment for me. And I'm going across the state, making appearances, working every day to do that. What I am committed to is raising the money to have more individuals to assist me, such as some of the executive board. One of the things that I want to make sure is that the first vice chair and I continue to do that. So far, the vice chair has been reluctant to do that, but we're going to make sure that we push forward on that because we need everyone involved to hit this goal.
We cannot see who is in attendance. Will that information be available during or after the meeting? I will go ahead and send out a follow-up email after the meeting sometime this weekend that includes the attendance list and a video link to the this webinar to review for any state committee members that weren't able to attend. Do you know who has been leaking private party information to the media? Is there evidence?
Um, I have some evidence regarding that. I just want to be able to confirm that, so I'm not going to put that name out there, but I know that it's not been myself. I have not leaked anything out to the media or out to the public that doesn't need to be exposed. I know I've been accused of that unfairly, and I want you to know right now that that is not true. But I do have some ideas and of who's been doing that, and presently we're researching just to make sure we confirm before we speak positively about that.
Have you sought mediation with the e-board as they seemed aligned against you?
Um, my goal is to work with the e-board. They are, um, I do have some concerns about them, especially about how they now are making policy on the fly just to modify certain things and not really in, informing the state committee. The actions of the e-board, um, the e-board is supposed to support the party, not to create binding policies or override bylaws or assume administration uh, control. But I am willing to work with them to get realigned with them because I appreciate them and we need to do what's best for the party to move forward.
And to follow that up, if you survive the recall, how do you propose to work with the board with most of them against you?
Well, like anything else, we have to come and sit down and have a heart-to-heart talk, see what the issues were, and try to resolve those issues and move forward. Like I said before, many times, it's not about me. It's about the party. It's about the people of Arizona. It's about the people who run with the Democratic banner beside their name. And we all have the same mission and we all know what we want to do. So we'll just have to sit down and work out what the differences are, have that heart to heart conversation, um, but work through this. And I know we can because there's some great people on my board and we just need to refocus our efforts to make this all happen.
All right, from somebody that says they don't really know all the facts about this upcoming election, what differentiates you from the past president, and what have you done to unite this party?
Well, the past president, I've been here 6 months and I've done a lot of accomplishments. I've done some things that don't show up, or and I've done some things that I mentioned in the last state committee meeting on June 7th. The first 6 months of the last administration, unfortunately, wasn't here for 6 months because they were on jury duty. And so I've had the opportunity to move forward and do some things. My strategic plan I had put forth and that we want to move forward. I brought in some systems in place that we need to have in order to win elections. I had a vision. If asked or need be, I will show up when requested. I'm trying to be present in every moment. And I'm also trying to make sure that, we regain uh, our status back in at least within the state committee people, because I think there was a lot of disenchantment with the last administration of not being responsive or not being upfront. And so that is my goal coming into this role, and I look to continue it moving forward.
Have you spoken to Dr. Neal about his calls to individuals asking them to support you and his offer to send an Act Blue link to raise funds for you?
I have not spoken to Dr. Neal, but I understand that he's a volunteer, but I have not spoken to him, and I had the opportunity to do that.
We got a message from a supporter of yours characterizing your critics as radical leftists. Did you authorize this message, and do you think your critics are radical leftists?
I did not authorize that message, and no, I don't think that they're leftists. We're a Democratic Party, and we have a big tent, and we have a lot of differences in between it. But we all know that our goal is to make sure that we support Americans first, the working class, to make sure equal rights, health care. We all want the same thing.
If you did not provide the SCM contact info to a Republican candidate, how did he obtain the information?
I wouldn't have any idea about that because I didn't do that, so I wouldn't know.
Is it your only job to fundraise? How do you think this has all started, this negativity against you? Who else is in charge of fundraising on your board, and what can be changed to raise more dollars?
My only job is not fundraising. It's a main part of my job. There's some other things that require me to be accomplished as the chair. I have some responsibility to make sure that we we have some organizational structure, that we have staff in place, that I give a direction, meet with donors, show up at different events to be the voice of the party. Uh, I do have, my background's mostly in business, so I'll make sure that the operation is run smooth, make sure that, our staff has the necessary training uh, uh, that they need to do their jobs, work closely with the ED to make sure all that's done. So that's what I envision my position in doing. And what was the other two? I'm sorry.
Who else is in charge of fundraising on your board?
The fundraising part, the only other person that is supposed to assist me with fundraising is the first vice chair. That's part of their responsibility. And like I said earlier, so far, the majority of the fundraising has been on myself. The first vice chair, for some whatever reason, has been real reluctant to do that, which is unfortunate. But hopefully that there's other members on the board who have offered their assistance to help fundraising and that are willing to do it. And I'm going to reach out to them and see if they still want to do that so we can move forward because fundraising is a major task and it's going to take more than just one or two people to do it.
And what can be done to raise more funds?
Well, we have to admit that our donors are having fatigue for every time they open up an email or see a text message, they're asking for money. And so that's not just here unique in Arizona, that's unique across the United States. But we understand that in order for us to get out there and to get out the vote and register voters, it takes money, it takes manpower, it takes resources. So we need to, first of all, shore up our grassroots donations. For example, as state committee people, if we all would commit to put $10 a month towards the state party, that would do a tremendous amount. That would help us sort some small things, but it would be enough to help us count on certain money that we can go out and maybe use in those rural communities. Um, we can also talk to some of the organizations that who are out there who want to support the Democratic uh, Party. But we also got to make sure that they have confidence in us that we're going to do the right things for it. And that's why one of the key issues that we have to look forward towards now is to stop this infighting. That's not good. It doesn't help when there's someone actively calling our donors and telling them not to donate money to the state party. That's counterintuitive. That doesn't do us any good. And the only thing it does, if it's an attempt to hurt me, it doesn't. It hurts the party. And so we have to stop that. So we need to go ahead and commit as state committee people to do what we can to support the party. If it's not $5, $10, talk to people because those amounts help.
In your last meeting, you said you were working with the acting Greenlee chair to bring them into compliance. Who do you consider to be the acting chair of Greenlee, and what non-compliance are you helping with?
Well, the chair of Greenlee, I believe, is still Susan. There has been some questions about that. There's been some questions with their board about that, and we're working through that. But um, they have to go by their bylaws and see what that is. But they also need to have a meeting to make sure that they can clean this up because there's been a couple requests, as I understand, to meet to get move through this, and so I'm still supporting of this meeting. I drove out there one time on the day, to Greenlee County to meet with them, and I'm willing to go back.
Why did ADP only put out their first and only promotion about the CD7 special election on Tuesday when other LDs and counties have been promoting this election for months now? Shouldn't ADP be heading up this promotion?
It, I mean, I guess that's be a question for Lauren, who is our lead down there in Tucson. Uh, the, she has the field organizer down there. We support her on that. Craig, you might give us some insight on that as well. I wasn't aware that then we just put out one thing for CD7, but I know in our plans, we're supporting CD7. We're supporting that race because it's very important to us. We know that we can't take it for granted. We're having phone banking, I believe, every Tuesday down there to support those efforts. We got permission to override the not having a contract to insert the election integrity person that started this last week. So we are supporting them in those factors. But once we get the contract signed and we make sure that, excuse me, the budget cleared, approved, we can go ahead and start the other efforts that we plan to do.
Yeah, and I will say that we have, in addition, been sending out fundraising emails around CD7. We've been promoting the phone banks and the special election through our email newsletters as well. So, um, would you explain the issue that the special meeting registration notice was sent with an unapproved agenda and incorrect proxy form?
Well, the unapproved agenda and the proxy form. Okay. Well, the unapproved agenda, I believe that uh, the agenda that was set by the e-board. It wasn't set by myself, which was a requirement. So I don't know so far about that. The proxy form normally comes through the state party staff. I understand it went through the rules committee. That is something that I have no involvement in, but I can look into it. That's more of a question for my executive director and the staff members who oversee that normal procedure.
Yes, and I will say, based on the agenda, that the agenda that was provided in that email was the agenda that had been approved previously, and I was not aware that there was an updated agenda that was approved because I was not copied on that email. And same with the proxy form. There was no indication on my end that there was a different proxy form. So, um, there's a group that says they will leave the party if you remain in office. If our voter registration drops after the 16th due to your division, what are your thoughts?
Well, that would be unfortunate. And I think that we've already have a voter registration issue. I don't believe that um, one person should drive people away. I mean, for example, our electeds decide to go to Navajo County and do their own thing. Doesn't mean that we still don't support them, but you know, they said they were supporting us as a party, but we still support them. So uh, I would hope that the people will stay and continue to believe in the democratic values and what we need to do as far as getting voters out, voters engaged, to make sure that we vote in the next upcoming elections and hold our seats and gain seats in the House and the Senate here in Arizona.
With no support from Hobbs, Mays, and Fontes, how can you operate as our leader and raise funds?
Well, as I said in my opening statement, it's not about any elected, it's about the party. The party will move on even when the electeds are gone. It has to be about the party. It's unfortunate that they feel that they won't give us our support, but we have other candidates that we need to make sure that we're supporting ourselves. Raising funds, the electeds are not committed or not in any way obligated to raise funds for the party. They can assist the party and they can maybe contribute to the party, but in no way are they contractually or by the bylaws um, asked to raise funds for the party. In the years past, when I talked to several people who've been around long enough, said that the party used to raise its own funds, and because there wasn't a lot of electeds to do that. But after a period of time when we started gaining more traction, that the electeds had the ability to go to the big donors and get more funds to help the party. And I think that as we appreciate those big donors, we got to make sure that the party can stand on its own feet and raise its own money and not rely on the electeds. And if they choose not to support us, to getting this panic because we don't think we can raise money.
Okay, and as a follow-up to that, are you open to having virtual monthly chats with the chairman to keep us informed and share ideas?
Of course. That's what this is attempting to do. I ran on transparency. I'm here answering questions. I want you to know what's going on. I'm not trying to shy away from that. I think this is the best way to keep us informed and to hear your voice.
Okay, I think this one's for me. I have received 4 or 5 begging emails from the AZ Dems in a week, but no fundraising activities have been mentioned. I think fundraising needs to be more than individual donations. We get emails from candidates and PACs all the time, and they are annoying. What do you think? Are begging emails sufficient? We do not believe begging emails are sufficient. We are actually trying to separate our newsletters from our donation requests emails, because we know that constantly getting a barrage of fundraising emails makes it really likely to unsubscribe. So we've separated those operations. Um, the new finance director, Abby Cox, and myself are working on strategic plan right now that will be rolling out in the next week or two, to completely revise our fundraising strategy, make them not nearly as begging, and definitely provide context to what we're going to be doing with the money to help get Democrats elected. We do not believe that simply saying we need to stop Trump, or we need to stop MAGA is sufficient to raise money. People right now want to know where that money is going. Um, and they need to be convinced that it is necessary for the operations and strategy that we have. So that's something we are actively working on, and we'll see a pretty significant change in that in the coming weeks.
And I'd like to follow up on that, Craig, if I could, please.
Sure.
Another thing that we want to do is, as Craig had mentioned, is not just be against Trump, Trump, Trump. We also want to be a resource. We also want to give our state committee people information and resources to help people, like hotlines for food banks or um, organizations that might be able to pick up seniors who lost their transportation vouchers from Medicare, things like that. We have to be a party of solutions, not just a party against. That will only get us so far before they start ignoring us. We need to make sure that people know that we have um, ability to get their needs or get their wants fulfilled, come with some solutions, make sure that their voices are heard so they know when they come into that ballot box, they know who really stood up for them. And it's no question it was the Democratic Party.
Well said. With such a small amount raised recently, how do you plan to raise the needed $2 million needed in the next 5.5 months?
But like I said before, there's an uptick in donations. The unions haven't started doing their donations yet, but typically they'll start around this time of year. I've been in conversations with some other donors who are actually waiting for the outcome on July 16th to see how they might want to move. Like I said earlier, it was unfortunate that there's been some people or a person going around calling donors and discouraging them from donating to the state party, which makes that job harder. But we're going to have some fundraisers. We have a Hall of Fame event that's going to be on August 23rd. We have our speaker. We're just finalizing that up. That name should bring in some dollars for that. But there's always a need to bring in more money. Our signature event is going to probably happen in November. Um, that will bring in a nice large chunk, but we need to make sure that we reach out to those major donors. A lot of those donors are nationwide, and some of them are not in the state. So that's why I said that we're going to use all the resources. We have a fundraising committee that I said I put together to also help expand those efforts to make sure that we can at least get close to our goal. And I just believe that what's going on in the world, that people are going to feel like they need to contribute to make sure we get this done.
Yeah, and I'll add that Finance Director Abby Cox and I are going to be working on a pretty significant strategy that involves reactivating lapsed donors, people that haven't donated, in quite some time, either in previous non-presidential election cycles, or basically anybody who's fallen off in the last 3 years and hasn't been donating, we're going to be reaching out to them to try to reactivate them as donors. That'll be pretty significant in grassroots fundraising and small donor fundraising, but every dollar helps, and we're talking a lot of people, so there's a lot of potential there. Would the chair kindly detail the quantified metrics of ADP of his term at this point? In particular, how many voters have been registered? What is the number of voter contacts in AZ07? And how much money has been raised to date? How do these metrics compare to previous years, such as 21 or 23?
That's a great question. And I'm going to be honest, I don't have all that information in front of me. But if you would leave your information with Craig, I'll make sure that I get back to you on Monday with that information because I want to make sure I'm accurate and speaking to it properly for you.
Yep, I can take a note of that. Why didn't someone push for donations at the state committee meeting?
I believe that, we want donations and and we want to make sure our state committee people are engaged in that. Maybe that was a missed opportunity. The staff is the one that normally puts those together. Maybe I should have made them more aware of that opportunity. But at the same time, we want to make sure at that state meeting, which was my first meeting, that we had enough information to give you to let you know what we're doing, how we're moving forward, and what's the what's the future that we see with the party. But that is a great idea. Like you said, it's probably an opportunity that we missed, and we need to make sure that we don't miss that opportunity again. So thank you for bringing that to my attention.
Yeah, and I'll add that internally with staff, we have absolutely had these conversations and do see that as a missed opportunity. Um, we don't want to turn the state committee meeting into a fundraising platform because it is a business meeting. But yes, it was absolutely a missed opportunity to not make that ask, and we're going to try to rectify that in the future. We're getting some repeat questions, so I'm just filtering through here. Do you think the public posts condemning the negotiations and calling you a union buster have impacted your ability to fundraise from unions, considering they're all historically one of our biggest donors?
Well, the first thing is that I'm not uh, union busting, number one. Number two is that for many of you, if you heard me speak before on this matter, I belong to two unions and I support the unions. I think it's the unions were essential, showing the history that have the middle class evolved in this country. So I reject that I'm union busting. The unions are watching that. I've talked to many of them and I've reassured them that, that is not my intent. Negotiations going back and forth. This is the first contract for this staff. And so there's going to be some opportunities that we're going to see eye to eye right away and some opportunities that we need to work through. So that's what I'm doing now presently. So the unions, I haven't heard any negative things from them personally. If there are, that hasn't been brought to my attention. But I believe that they know that I support the union because, like I said, technically I'm still a Teamster. So why would I be opposed to a union?
Have you reinstated access to email and websites to those counties who were shut down?
We were trying to figure that out. We don't know what happened on that. I know Michael Ruff and the staff people were working on that. I know that some of them came back up. I don't know if it was a glitch or if it was payment, but on our end, we did not do anything to make those websites shut down or emails go down. So I'll have to get back to you on that. Craig, again, get that person's information so I can answer that question and find out for him.
Yep, I can do that. I'm hearing a lot of blame being placed on others, but I'm interested to hear what you think you could have done differently in the time since you were elected to have avoided where we are at now.
Yeah, I always reflect on that. I could have worded the letter a little bit differently. There were some things that I didn't know or I should have asked questions. It's a learning curve when you come into a new organization and you try to figure out things on the go. It doesn't help when you don't have a roadmap. You just kind of have to do the scavenger hunt and figure these things out. And a lot of times they come up either at the last minute or past. But I'm always reflecting on what I could do things differently, even today. Um, but I would hope that, you know, uh, I would be given the same grace that other chairs have been given in the past to make those mistakes early so I can correct them. And I feel that that's only fair to me because I walked into an operation that, we had to make sure that was functioning to support the organization to make sure that we move forward and get the goal achieved, which is getting Democrats and voters out uh, to the polls and get Democrats elected.
AG Kris Mayes has previously stated that she lost confidence in your ability to lead the party. You are now stating that she told you that she hopes you remain in the chair position. Did you misspeak, or has she changed her position?
I didn't misspeak, and that was the position that she spoke to me face to face. Now, if she has changed since then again, then I don't know about that, but when we last talked and when we left, that was the impression, and those are the words that she spoke to me.
To date, are inconsistent with the rhetoric. Why is the discourse that permeates through your team so widespread? How and when can we expect to see a rapid turnaround and begin to have constructive collaboration with your leadership and the rest of the ADP team? Why does the blame for inaction always reside with others instead of the team members? Others instead of leadership. Sorry.
Um, Team members, are you referring to the staff? Or are you referring to the executive board? I can answer that a couple of ways.
They
So,
they offered a correction to specify leadership.
leadership and the staff. Um, I believe that, we're all so passionate about what we want to get done that sometimes that passion maybe interferes with our egos or interferes with uh, that what we need to do, that sometimes we believe that we're doing the right thing. What we need to do is, like I said before earlier, we need to come together, air out those differences, make sure that we understand what the common goal is and how we can move forward and how each one plays a significant part in doing that. I'm always willing to do that. I believe it's needed, it's necessary. The times demand it that we make sure that we uh, join our forces together and make sure we get down this road to victory because that is essential. We need that. In the leadership, I believe people on the board, they're passionate. No doubt they're passionate, just like I'm passionate. And I believe we can get past that.
What are the reasons being given for not approving the budget? What is your response to the reasons given?
Tell you the truth, they had a couple of reasons. They said the budget was too big or the fundraising was not uh, believable, that, the current balance in the bank doesn't justify what's coming in. There's been a lot of different reasons for not approving the budget. But we have to remember that a budget is a blueprint of how you like to move through the next cycle. When you projecting how you want to raise funds, it gives you a goal. But the budget can also be amended at any point in time to adjust to where you're at as far as that role. But what I believe is that a budget is necessary and needed to get to there. And as long as a budget is not approved, then we can't move forward. Now, we can have a disagreement. We can say that, we don't like a certain line item. There could be things that we can do or some luxuries that we can dismiss to get there. I get that. We want to be physically responsible. But, we need to be realize that the longer that this process goes on, the less chance it is to even reach half of that goal. And then now we're starting to interfere with people's lives, staff's lives, paying our bills, doing the things we need to do be responsible for. So we just need to go ahead and get this budget completed. I've tried to address all the concerns that were given to me. As I said before, I put together a committee who went line by line with some of the people who put the budget together to ask the questions, to see what it was about, and see where we could have some opportunity to make some cuts. All I need is that, next time we come to listen to the budget, let's not have any chaos. Let's not have any interruptions. Let's sit down, listen, go over the recommendations from the committee, go over the budget, and vote and approve it.
All right. That's all the questions we have time for. Wanted to give you an opportunity for a couple minutes for a closing statement.
Well, I'd just like to say before we close, I want to take a moment to sincerely thank each and every one of you for being here, for speaking your truth, for asking thoughtful, serious questions, and for staying engaged even when the road is difficult. This meeting and your participation in it is a reflection of what makes our party strong. I know there are disagreements. I know there are tough conversations, and that's okay. That's healthy because what binds us together is not uniformity. It's our shared commitment to values like democracy, justice, equality, and opportunity. And it's our willingness to keep showing up again and again to do the hard work of living out those values. Now, as chairs, I know, there has to be a certain amount of transparency. And I understand that, and I'm trying to live up to that. But at the same time, it's a responsibility. And I will continue to answer your questions and take your concerns seriously and make space for everyone who wants to help build this party stronger, smarter, and inclusive. There's a lot ahead for us in in this election to win, communities to engage, voters to register, and truth to defend. But we are not starting from scratch. We have each other. We have our principles. We have the power of grassroots movement that still believes in what is possible. So as we leave here today, I ask you to carry with you, we're just not reaching out to the moment. We are shaping the future. And we do that best when we work together. Trust one another and remember that flame we carry isn't ours to keep, it's ours to protect and pass on. Again, I'd like to thank you for coming out this afternoon, asking the questions. Appreciate everyone's effort, what we're doing that's being seen and not being seen. I know you're all passionate about it, you're all caring, and it shows because you showed up here this afternoon. And with that, I'd like to say thank you and have a great day.
Excellent. We appreciate everyone's time. I know there was definitely some questions in the chat that we didn't get to. We're going to try to send out a recap of this meeting, and I'll work with the chairman to see if we can get some of these outstanding questions answered if they're not repeats. And we'll, try to get that out as early as we can this week. Definitely before, Tuesday morning at the latest will be my goal, but I'll shoot for Monday. Yeah, so just want to thank everybody for showing up and having a great conversation. We'll continue these conversations at minimum on a monthly basis. We want to make sure that everybody's informed and there's transparency, and that that's one of the things we can do to reunite the Democratic Party is just really keep people informed and have an open dialogue. So appreciate everyone coming, and have a great rest of your weekend.
Have a great weekend, everyone. Thank you.
Recordings